welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make an 1880s skirt. We're going to use the Truly Victorian TV263 pattern, View B. This pattern has 3 different train lengths. C is a full train for court or wedding dresses, and View A is for walking dress. We're going to go in the middle with View B for an evening dress. And the instructions for cutting out the pattern mostly make sense, except for this one right here. It says to cut out 3 of the center back panel. 2 will be used for the side back and then 1 will be used for the center back. The reason why this doesn't quite make sense is the pattern piece is angled, so if I cut out a center back piece from that pattern, the bottom of the center back panel won't match the edges of both side panels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lengthen the shorter edge to be at the same length as the other side. So step 1 is to stitch the darts into the front panel and the side panel, which I have already done before recording this video. A little tip: we should start somewhere around here from the point of the dart and stitch away from the point, and then come back in, start where you left off and stitch up towards the point. I don't know where I learned this, but it has really helped in keeping nice clean darts. The next step is on the side panels to fold in a pleat as marked on the pattern. So let's take a look at the pattern. You can see where I cut out the dart so I could draw it onto my pattern. I just wanted to make sure that the darts were accurate on both pieces, so I typically do that. Marked on the pattern are 2 lines showing you how wide your pleat should be, and an arrow showing you the direction to pleat it. I like to mark the width of the pleat by adding pins into the fabric, and then I will take one of the pins and lift it up and pull it in the direction of the pleat, aligning both pins to ensure a nice even pleat. And we're going to do that to the other side panel and compare the tops to make sure that they are even. So the next step is to sew the sides onto the front panel. I didn't record that. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy to follow. And then also stitch the gores on. Again, very easy to follow. Just make sure you follow the markings on the pattern pieces. Highly advise ironing as you go. There's a lot of fabric to the skirt, and ironing your seams later is a bit difficult. For this fabric, I need to use the clapper to make sure that my seams laid nice and flat, because this is horrific material that doesn't really like to ease into the shapes that I iron it, and it frays like crazy. So now we're ready to move on to the next step. We've completed the gores, and so now we need to sew the side backs to sides and gores. It is going to be a little interesting because there's quite a bit of fabric here at the tip, but I'm going to take the side panel and taper it over this edge so that the top of the gore forms a point. So after that, we stitch the center back to the back sides, which finishes the circumference of the skirt. On one side, you do leave the top 10 inches unsewn like you see here. That is our placket. This seam is not a center seam. There is not a center seam down the back of this skirt. Truly Victorian did that on purpose so that if you are putting a pocket into this, the pocket would go into the lobster tail bustle, and with it being slightly off center, you'll be able to reach into that pocket. So to finish off the placket, we're just going to fold the edges in by 1/2 of an inch and top stitch in place. Next, pin the waistband to the skirt following the marks on the pattern pieces, but do not pin to the side back or center back. This should leave about 3 inches on one side unpinned and about 6 inches on the other side unpinned. And if all goes well, we'll be able to pleat all of that extra fabric down into these little leftover sections. So I need to pleat this side back panel to fit within a couple of inches, because I need to leave 1/2 inch of space. So I somehow did it. I didn't leave quite enough space on the end here, but I don't care, and it's kind of thick, but It is pleated down, it fits within the waistband. I did it. And now I have to do this to the other side. So now I need to do this to the other side. So I just finished the waistband according to the instructions. It was pretty straightforward. So now we're almost finished with the skirt. The next step is to take some bias tape, 4 pieces about 18 inches long, and stitch these into the seam allowance on the side panels. You need to put one at 8 inches below the waist, which winds up being the top of the gore, and then one about 14 inches below the waist. You'll do this on each of the side panels. And now it's time to test this on my dress form on top of all of the undergarments. Once I have this on the mannequin, I'm going to tie the bias tape ties that we just added. I highly recommend tying these only once you have it over the bustle. That way you can ensure you get the perfect fit. I also like to trim up my hem after I have it on the mannequin and tied. That way I can ensure that I don't accidentally cut the hem a little too short. So that's all there is to putting together this 1880s skirt. It's actually pretty easy. I just find the instructions a little confusing. So hopefully this video helps you when you're making your own. So that's all I have for you. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you feel like it. And now it's time to move on to the overskirt. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!